What's up everybody, D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video. This one is going to be doing a Kong Skull Island news and updates, kind of following up on the Shin Gojira news updates we did yesterday. This one will kind of fill in for that. So our first bit of news is that more of these giant Kong hands, these giant cardboard cutouts, have been appearing in movie theaters all across the country. The reason I felt the need to talk about this is because I covered the, all that stuff with Shin Godzilla, but also just because I think it's really cool. I mean, first of all, the fact that we're getting a new Kong movie is great. The fact that we're getting it advertised this well is awesome, because Godzilla 2014 didn't really have these big cardboard cutouts you see, whereas this one's really cool because not only is it a cardboard cutout, but it's also massive. Like, look how big it is compared to that guy. Something that I didn't really consider until just looking at it right now doing this video is just how big it is, which is kind of special because, Kong's so big. I don't know. I think that's really awesome. I think it's really cool that they do that. That might even be size accurate. I mean, that guy looks like, that's probably how much space Brie Larson took up on Kong's hand in that second TV spot, or whatever TV spot that came in. You guys know what I'm talking about. That's pretty cool. I think that's a pretty neat thing, and I like the fact that this movie's getting advertised and recognized in movie theaters like this, whereas Godzilla 2014 did not. Our second bit of news is the fact that we now have a colored HD picture of Kong fighting the giant Skullcrawler. This isn't really anything special. I mean, we've already seen this picture. We've seen it in HD in black and white. This time we just have a colored version of it. It's a pretty cool picture. I've already covered it. Nothing much to say about it, especially because we've already seen this kind of action sequence go down in the TV spots, so it's not like it's that groundbreaking or anything like that. Other news, though, is the fact that Kong Skull Island has been getting a ton of new character bios lately. I am not going to put up the video character bios, which have, there's ones for, like, John C. Reilly's character, where it's got, your standard military, it basically says for him, he was he was a fighter pilot. He went rogue pretty much, got lost, parachuted out into unexplored territory, and then it does that typical blacking out of the unimportant information, leaving the words missing in action behind. There's a ton of these. There's some for Tom Hiddleston's characters and things like that. There's also these really cool new pictures coming out, these promotional pictures like this. The hunter becomes the hunted. Really cool because we know James Conrad, Hiddleston's character, is going to be the tracker, as stated in that TV spot. When I thought he said dragon, he says tracker. He's a tracker. He goes there to hunt Kong, and he winds up being hunted. It's, that's a pretty stereotypical phrase, the hunter becomes the hunted. That's a pretty, you've heard that before. It's kind of cliche, but, I think it's cool, whatever. It's a cool picture of him. It looks like he's holding a gas mask in his hand. Of course, we see him put that gas mask on during that skull, that grave, that boneyard. I don't know why I never remember what to call it. That boneyard sequence with the green fog, we see him put that on. Other than that, his attire looks the exact same as usual. He looks like he could be in that same area that water buffalo comes out of. I don't know. This was probably not a screenshot from the movie. This was probably just a promotional picture taken for the movie. This one, though, is really awesome. Packard, this is Sam Jackson's character. Obviously, you guys recognize him. I think this is great because it shows him standing in front of the U.S. flag. He has his army uniform on. He's clean-cut, shaven, looking very professional and military-like. He's got his patches. I really like this because it sets up the fact that this is a military officer. This is someone who works in the army. He is someone who, serves the U.S. He's someone who who serves my country, a lot of your guys' country. I think this is really sweet because it kind of gives the audience an emotional connection to him. Because let's face it, typically people are going to relate to soldiers of their own country because, well, the soldiers of their own country are in real life the ones who protect them. I think it's a really great picture to see him in this heroic shot like this. A very real world picture here, whereas that Hiddleston picture, he was more in the open, out of his element. This one's more in his element, real world, grounded in reality, which gives us the audience a more emotional connection to him, even though I feel like he's most likely going to be our movie's villain per se, because I think he's going to be the one, obviously he's going to be the one trying to kill Kong, but I think because Hiddleston and Larson's characters are not going to want Kong dead, I think he's going to go against them, making him kind of our quote-unquote villain, even though he will be justified in his actions based off Kong killing many of his men at the start of the movie. So I think this is a really cool thing here. I think he should be a really good, deep, kind of multiple level character, and this is already setting up for it, so I'm excited for that. Other than that, brand new poster, looks freaking gorgeous. Okay, so before we get into the Easter eggs going on here, I want to explain what this poster is. So experience it in 3D. It's coming in IMAX 3D, so, well, I'm going to wind up seeing it eventually in IMAX 3D. Probably initially, I am supposedly, as of now, going to see the midnight showing, the midnight premiere, so I don't think I would wind up seeing the 3D one. I think it'd be cool. I am open to see the 3D for these movies. I don't typically like 3D for movies, but Godzilla 2014 I saw in 3D, and, you know, I walked out of there liking it, so I thought the 3D, you know, it didn't really enhance the viewing, but it didn't take away from it either, which is the thing, which is most movies, when I see it in 3D, I'm just annoyed by the glasses the whole time. I think with these movies, I'm just so, like, encapsulated in, you know, oh my god, this is a new kaiju movie that I'm experiencing. I don't really notice it. So, you know, I'll see it in 3D. Just probably not first showing. That took a long time for me to explain. Anyways, this is the new 3D poster, I guess we could call it, because it's advertising the IMAX 3D. Experience it, coming soon. I mentioned that for Shin Godzilla when I made fun of them, calling it the 4D experience when it was coming out in theaters. So here you guys see Kong Skull Island written in a new font from the producers of Godzilla right up there on the poster. Great picture of Kong here, looking very menacing. The sun rising or setting, most likely setting in the background. It's very orange color scheme, helicopters. A lot of people are questioning, what is this thing down at the bottom here? You guys can see that object down in the bottom right corner. A lot of people are like, hey, it kind of looks like that thing from Jurassic Park, you know, that Jeep? Well, it's not. We did see this in one of the TV spots. This is actually, presumably, this is going to be the plane that took, what's-his-face, I'm drawing a blank on his name. The plane that took John C. Reilly, the plane that took him to Skull Island, that is most likely what we're seeing here. We saw in the trailers and the TV spots, it's a plane that's been converted into a boat, which is really awesome. It's also been weaponized. It's got these massive turrets mounted on it. I think that's pretty sweet. Great, you know, great engineering, whoever did that, so it's really cool to see smart characters on the island. I think one thing that John C. Reilly's character is going to have going for him is that I feel like he's going to be a really smart character, and he's just going to be stuck on this island, which will kind of drive him insane into being this kind of crazy and out there kind of character. But I think he will be a really smart character because obviously he's made it this far. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to survive. I think he'll be a great character. So that's his boat, or a boat on the island that's been engineered from a plane. We saw it in one of the TV spots. Let's get into the Easter eggs going on in this poster. Obviously, it is a huge reference to the Apocalypse Now poster. If you guys couldn't figure that out, similar font. You have Kong's face, and you got the fade, the silhouette fade over the sun. Same thing with the main character, Apocalypse Now's face, silhouette over the sun. You have helicopters flying over the sun. You have helicopters flying over the sun. You have water reflection in the light. You have water reflection in the light. You have a very, you know, if you see on the Kong poster, there's mountains. On the Apocalypse Now poster, there's palm trees, so it's a very nature feel to it, as well as you have a boat down in the water on both of them. So obviously a huge throwback to that poster, which is great because I don't know who was the one, probably the director, who was the one who was like, you know what, Apocalypse Now, let's put King Kong in there, let's beef him up so he's a bit bigger so he can fight Godzilla in a few movies, and then let's just make that a movie. I don't know who did that, but you know, whoever did it, good job to you because it seems to be working. It seems to be making a very unique experience for a kaiju movie. Great color tone to it as well. Obviously, there's Apocalypse Now tones throughout all of this. You guys can see the two Apocalypse Now posters on the upper part of this right hand side, as well as the left hand side is the poster. Then underneath you see Kong with the sun behind him silhouetted with the helicopter flying towards him, obviously very inspired by Apocalypse Now. We also have that shot of the reveal shot of Kong standing in the river when the helicopters fly up on him, looking very Apocalypse Now. So whoever did this, I'm going to have to rewatch Apocalypse Now. It's been a very long time since I saw it. I didn't even see the full movie. I just saw it on cable. Well, it wasn't cable. It was like HBO or something like that. But I haven't seen the full movie. I gotta rewatch it before watching Kong Skull Island because I want to be in on it. I want to be in on it. So there's that. Now the last thing I'm going to talk about this news update is the increased findings in fan service with Skull Island. So a lot of people have been doing tons of research into this, you know, looking into all these different monsters appearing in Skull Island, being like Crab Spider, Lost Spider Sequence, Kong 33. Octopus, obviously, even I caught on to this one. Octopus from King Kong vs. Godzilla, Octopus in Skull Island. This hand sequence from 76, this hand sequence from 2017. The eyes from 2017, the eyes from 05. The skull crawlers resemble the lizard. This resembles that. Kong resembles Kong. Lots of fan service in this movie. It's amazing. I am all for fan service. A lot of people are like, oh, don't bug your movie down with that. Are you kidding me? That's what made Rogue One so great. It was all the fan service. So, yeah, you know, I want tons of it in this movie. Shin Godzilla really knew when to hit the fan service. The music especially really amplified Shin Godzilla with how much of the music they used from Ifukube made that movie so special. And this movie seems to be taking visual cues from the other movies, which is great because I love to see influence from previous movies on current movies. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of Apocalypse Now feels to this, but as well as that, we're going to have a lot of throwbacks to other King Kong movies, which is absolutely amazing. You know, I really get the sense that the director of this movie is a huge Kong fan, which is something we need. A lot of people are worried about the direction Godzilla 2 is taking with the Krampus director. Personally, I'm not worried because although, yeah, he hasn't really directed any giant monster films, he does seem to have a genuine interest in Godzilla, and he seems to be a real fan. If you guys are on his Twitter, you know what I'm talking about. He seems to care about the character. Now, I wouldn't worry about it with Godzilla 2. Definitely not worried about it with Kong Skull Island because obviously they know how to handle this character. I mean, let's face it, we've done Kong how many times and we've messed up twice? That's a pretty good track record. I mean, with every incarnation of Kong ever, the only two mistakes I ever think were made were the new Netflix series from last year, that Kong King of the Apes, and the only other misstep is King Kong Lives. Personally, Kong 76 is not that much of a misstep for the character of Kong. Everything else, every other Kong incarnation we've gotten right. Let's face it, there's not a ton, but we've gotten everything else right. So obviously the Americans, we know how to handle Kong. Toho, on the other hand, they handled him pretty well. King Kong Escapes is a great movie, but, you know, Kong is a little bit odd in King Kong vs. Godzilla, which is what throws it off. The electric powers, everything like that. What I'm really trying to say here is don't be worried about this movie. Obviously, we're getting a very faithful adaptation of King Kong, even if it is changing the initial story. The fan service is going to be all over the place. Got to look everywhere for all these Easter eggs. It should be a great movie. I'm really excited for it, guys. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. D-Man,